Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of eDiscovery After Hours. My guest this week is Adam Wehler. This was an awesome conversation. We talked about astronomy and astrophysics. Yes, really. We talked about live music and the best channels on SiriusXM. And we also talked about the recent work that Adam did with the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. Very cool, very interesting topic, and of course, timely, an evergreen topic really in the legal industry. So check all this out. Our sponsor this week, as always, is Proteus Discovery Group. Proteus is owned and run by practicing commercial litigators who spent over 60 years in AmLaw 100 firms. So they've walked many, many miles in the shoes of their clients. All of the moving pieces that you have to deal with, matter management, budget management, if you're outside counsel, client management, and just all of the things that go into keeping the trains on the tracks. It's not theoretical. These guys have done it from multiple perspectives. They were frustrated by a lot of the customer service and the pricing frustrations that they had with a lot of the other vendors in the space. And so almost a decade ago, in 2015, they launched Proteus. And so for data collections, for eDiscovery and project management, and for document review, check out proteusdiscovery.com. Thanks for tuning in.
Quick time!
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation.
Drinks on the house.
Yes, sir.
No, wait a second. Drinks are 50% off.
Right.
No, wait a second. Double the price of everything.
And I work only 16 hours a day.
A union man only works 8 hours a day.
I belong to 2 unions.
And now, eDiscovery After Hours with your host, Ryan Short.
All right, Adam, cheers. Welcome to eDiscovery After Hours.
Cheers. How are you doing today, Ryan?
Well, you picked my favorite drink, so I'm doing great. What are we drinking?
This is a lovely old fashioned. Mine is made with Woodford, and it really, I mean, the big ice cube. It's a good time.
Yeah, people think that I work from home because of what you see over my shoulder, but this is my office in a professional office environment. So we don't have the big, I never set myself up with the big ice cube kind of things that I could just bring from home. So I've got these kind of like those stones that you just keep in the freezer.
Love it. That's awesome. Yes.
I have mixed emotions because you like, when a drink gets watered down just a little bit and it chills it, that's great. But there's something to be said for the volume that you get here, that you preserve that space for the good stuff. So there's that too.
No doubt.
How did you get into old fashions or to Woodford or to both?
It was something that was very recent. I work for a lovely law firm, and the COO of our firm invited us, the leadership team, over to do bourbon tasting. And I broke up with bourbon a long time ago in college. And so I'm like, okay, well, I've kind of started saying yes to pretty much, most things these days. And so I tried it, and I'm like, wow, this isn't as bad as I remember it. Maker's Mark is still, it's
Too
probably
many bad
great.
memories.
Too many bad memories. And the nose knows. So anyway, I fell back. I kind of started playing with it and have loved it. So it's great.
Yeah, well played. All right, very good. Have you done the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky? Have you gotten that far back on the wagon yet?
I haven't, but I am a runner. I actually met my wife doing Ragnar type races.
Doing what type of races?
Ragnar. Have you ever heard of these races?
No.
So I met my wife doing a relay race from Gettysburg to DC, and you constantly run, and it's 12 people split up into 36 different legs, and each person has 3 legs. You're running in the middle of the night for one of them, and as a team, you make it there. You typically have 2 vans, but the whole story is when I was running, and I don't know if this is still true, but Ragnar, who puts on a lot of these different races, actually has one that goes through the Bourbon Trail where you can run, and these races are typically 200 miles or so. Yeah.
Wow. My wife, she's doing a half marathon coming up. She did the Chicago Marathon when we lived there. It's one thing, it makes sense at the end of 26 miles, right? You get the carbs and the electrolytes, and you have that nice, frosty beer. But bourbon during a Ragnar race sounds just like a terrible idea. Great from a sponsorship perspective.
Right. I mean, when you have, because again, 6 people are in your van, and you get done with those 6 legs, well, then you have to wait for the other van to complete. So you have time, maybe 4 hours or so, to just relax.
Yeah. So you guys met because you were on this team of 12 people. Was there a mutual friend who recruited you both?
Yes, there was. And it was funny. We had to go from DC up to Gettysburg, and we both kind of sat in the van in the back seats and just started talking. And at the time, she was a high school Spanish teacher. I was doing this e-discovery thing for Steptoe and Johnson, and it was crazy. I was finishing up law school at the time, and so yeah.
Dang, man, that is wild. Was it like sparks flew right away? You guys are flirting and everybody else in the van is like, come on, guys, like get a room? Or was this just like she ended the race and she was like, I can't wait to get away from this guy?
It was we needed to see each other again, a type of a deal. I don't think it was sparks flying initially. I think she was, a little hesitant because, again, when you're stuck in a 3-row van with people for 24 hours, that
is a lot of bonding time for sure. All right. So
Correct.
That is an incredible little taste for those who don't know you. That's a nice little entree. I want to run you through 5 or 6 other quick little questions
Sure.
that are paces I put most of the guests through. And then we'll get kind of more into the backstory of where you grew up and how you got into this crazy world. But first, answering as quickly as you can without putting too much thought into it. What was your first concert?
Collective Soul and, who did the Cranberries? The Cranberries opened for Collective Soul.
Okay, so this had to be like early to mid 90s.
Yeah, it was about 96, 97. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. I saw, I haven't seen the Cranberries live. I saw Collective Soul. If you've never been to downtown Indianapolis, you can Google it, but Monument Circle, I joke, it's like the world's original roundabout. So this is a planned city. The architect who laid out Washington, D.C., his student laid out Indianapolis. And so we have Monument Circle in the center of the city, and then it goes out from there. And Indianapolis hosts the Final Four every couple of years. And so every time they do it, they have a free concert downtown. There's like 100,000 people who show up. And so this was like 05 or 06. But there was this young blonde who had just gotten off American Idol, and she had one song out and people were kind of interested. Her name was Carrie Underwood. And so it was her, and then Collective Soul, and then John Mellencamp, who, small town, he's an Indiana boy, so that was rocking. So that was very cool.
There you go. That sounds fun.
All right, so that was your first concert. What was your favorite concert?
It has to be Eric Church. I've seen him a bunch of times. I used to, Matchbox 20 used to be my jam, but I love artists that can play a plethora of different styles, and I believe Eric can really get there. He's country, but you can definitely hear the blues, the R&B, some jazz notes and whatnot in it, and he tries to do some rock as well. And so, yeah, I love Eric Church's concert.
So you're a member of the church choir, right? That's what he calls his fans.
I am not. I'll go and see him and just enjoy my time on the lawn.
Did you have strong feelings one way or the other? For those who don't know, Eric Church, big country star for the last 15 years, grew up in North Carolina, has literally an album called Carolina, a great song called Carolina. A couple of years ago, when Duke and UNC played in the Final Four, he canceled a concert at the last minute to go see this once in a lifetime thing. Did you have strong feelings one way or the other about that?
It kind of balances out with the whole, he has led an effort to stop ticket scalping.
Yes.
At his concerts as well. Look, I mean, I'm all for once in a lifetime things. I took a chance in the middle of law school and went to the Vancouver Olympics because I had the chance.
Yeah.
So, everybody has their thing.
Yeah, I hear you. Most famous celebrity that you've met?
Wow. Bono. I was just out of college at a United Nations Association of the United States of America soiree, and he was being recognized, and I was able to meet him.
Dang, that's cool. Was it just like a real quick, like shake hand, take a selfie, or did you get to chat with him?
I did not get to chat with him. It was definitely a real quick, like, oh, hey, and I mean, this was back in 2004. So selfies weren't that great back then.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was like the height of his, it was like his ski goggle sunglasses era.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For sure. All right. Favorite vacation spot?
Wow. I have to say, it probably is gonna be Hilton Head. Just because I like going down there with my kids, and with my wife. They seem to have a good time there. And it's just so low key.
Yeah.
I think my wife would get on me for not saying Walt Disney World. But alas, that's their favorite, trip. So I like going to Hilton Head. I do.
It's beautiful. If for those who haven't been, you can drive onto the island, park your car, and then not get in your car again until you leave, because there's bike paths all over. It's a fairly small island. A couple of really great little restaurants. It's incredible for golfers, which is I put a pin in that topic. We're going to come back to that. But yeah, 2 thumbs up for Hilton Head for sure. Okay, finally, most used app on your phone.
Wow. I would have to say it has to be the email app. Am I allowed to say the email app because I work, or does it have to, be something outside of that?
Yeah.
If it's something outside of that, it's the SiriusXM app. I don't have a Spotify account. I feel like I'm one of the few people in the world that don't
you're
pay
the
for
guy.
Spotify. Yeah. And so I have always been, loving SiriusXM and the different channels that they have there. So especially my new favorite channel is the covers channel, where it's literally artists covering other songs.
Oh, that's cool.
I heard for the first time Tenacious D cover Britney Spears' Baby One More Time. And it was just as epic as you would imagine it to be.
Yeah. Are you a musician, Adam?
No, I'm not. I don't like to say, but I love music. And I think it's really started a long way back. Live music is just amazing. Your question before, but I found with SiriusXM, I noticed that I was always changing the channel, and I started wondering what made me change the channel. And that led to, when I turned 30, me actually creating a top 100 song list of all time. Like my favorite songs of all time at 30. And for those of you keeping score, I am 42 this year. And so I did it again when I turned 40. And the list is different.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do it again, kind of every 10 years. It's kind of like a lovely, here is my top 100, and I go on Instagram, which is probably the only social media beyond LinkedIn I'm on, and release a song 100 days in front of my birthday and go from there. But yeah, I love music. I love listening to music. It calms me. It's just that much little bit. It's amazing. Anyway.
Now that's really cool. I don't think, if somebody put a gun to my head, I don't know if I could do a top 100 songs. I am a musician, a wannabe, maybe I should say. But I mean, I listen to everything from bluegrass to gospel to Motown to, country you hear in the radio to classic rock to, like, my wife makes fun of me because I'll be washing the dishes and I'll just have music playing, from the Sonos speaker of my phone or something. And she's just like, how many personalities are you? Who are you? So
yeah. It's funny. My wife laughs at me because the one genre of music I struggle, but I listen to it because I'm like, I have to find something I can connect it to, is electronica and EDM. And like, I do the same thing. And so I may be sitting here listening to rave music while I'm washing dishes. I'm like, there's got to be something about this that I like.
Yeah, I can't do it.
And yeah. So.
It's not, there's a great Nate Bargatze bit, comedian, right? Where he's just like, you're in your 20s and somebody's like, hey man, do you want to go? You're like, I'll go right now. What do you want me to do? Where are we going? I'll burn my apartment down. You tell me. He goes, you turn 30 and you're like, where are we going? How late is it open? I'm going to drive separate. Right. And then he goes, and then you turn 40 and you're like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel about the EDM. I don't understand it. And it's great. And no offense to our fine friends at the EDRM, Mary and Kaylee, we love you.
Yes, we love that. Yes, definitely love the fact that they're working on redoing it. I love it. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So Adam, where are you from originally?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Okay. Which has changed dramatically since you grew up there. Correct.
I have fond memories. Obviously I grew up playing golf. That's a sport that I'm passionate about, soccer as well, and beach volleyball. And I am a little height challenged in the beach volleyball world. Being 5'11", I was never the one that was going to spike the ball in a two-man beach volleyball match.
Yeah.
So my team was always a bit handicapped. So
yeah, and there's no libero in beach volleyball, so you just got to muscle it out.
Correct. I went to college at Penn State, and I actually tried to walk on to the Penn State men's volleyball team, and that was the position that I tried to walk on to. And
how does a kid from Florida end up at Penn State?
Well, I wanted to go into astronomy and astrophysics. That was where I wanted to go. I applied across the country. My parents would not allow me to apply to Hawaii. They said that was the limit. But
a little bit too much temptation. Had nothing to do with costs or anything. It was just like, no.
Yeah, nothing to do with
school.
costs.
You got to go to class.
But TCU, Arizona, Boston University, Caltech, that was a dream, but that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And Penn State had a really good program at the time. And so, I was born in Pennsylvania. I don't consider it my home because my parents left when I was little, but I had a blast at Penn State.
So it was, you said astronomy and astrophysics?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so what was the goal there? I mean, you wanted to be a rocket scientist, work for NASA. What was the plan?
I wanted to find exoplanets. That's what I wanted to do. I watched Stargate in the theaters when it had a seminal effect on me. One of my most controversial opinions is I feel Stargate SG-1 is the best sci-fi show ever. And everybody will come for me, I'm sure. But I wanted to find exoplanets. And that's, what I wanted to do. And it happened that my freshman seminar teacher, Alexander Volshkan, was the very first person to find a planet outside of our solar system. And so
was that during your
crazy.
time as an undergraduate, or before or after?
It was before I showed up.
Okay.
But I did not end with that degree. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Chemistry and me did not get along.
Organic chem is the death of many pre-med dreams.
So,
okay, so what did you pivot into?
International politics and history, completely away. I love physics
left
and
brain,
math.
right brain.
Yeah, I love physics and math. I still hilariously have quantum physics books that I read. I still keep up with string theory and loop quantum gravity and where things are going in that realm, which is helpful because I like math. And so the current state of our technology world allows me to understand it a little bit more. But yeah, that's so international politics and history, dealing with the UN a little bit, and then moved to DC. And
so did you fall into litigation support, or was it something by the time undergraduate ends, was that a career path that you thought this could be a long-term thing, or was it just, I just need a job, I got a job, great?
I was working for the George Mason Law School bookstore. I knew that I wanted to be in DC because international policy, that's where the game's played. And I blame Tom Skelly. I applied for a practice support specialist job at Covington and Burling, and Tom Skelly must have seen something in me or said, this guy is stupid, he'll take this job. And I've been in it ever since. And I thank Tom for seeing something in me at that time, this 22-year-old who, I get in there and they're showing me LiveNote, and I'm going, what is LiveNote? In 2004. So dongles and all of that other fun stuff. And they're sending me to warehouses at the end of the tobacco litigations. It was fun.
Which is how, maybe a spoiler alert as to how you ended up in North Carolina, huh?
No, that is not how I ended up in North Carolina. I wanted to stay. I stayed in DC until 2015, and I went to law school at Catholic University, the Columbus School of Law. Had a great time there. I went to law school at night while working at Steptoe & Johnson. Again, the law firm was amazing to me and supported me going in the evening. And once I got married to my wife in 2012, we kind of both decided that we just didn't want to be in DC anymore eventually. And so Robinson Bradshaw, the job here came up, and it was a great opportunity to come to Charlotte, North Carolina. I could not be more amazed and stunned and just thankful for them and the fun time that they've given me over the past 9 years.
I was going to say, we're inside, we're T-minus a year till you hit your decade there. So you've got a knack for, you grew up in Tampa, which is just mushrooming population. DC mushroomed during the time you were there, and now Charlotte. I'm surprised that you don't have like economic development officials just asking you to move to their town just to see what happens.
It is kind of crazy. I remember being a part of a firm-wide meeting on the development of Charlotte before the pandemic and being told it was the second busiest city for construction in the nation. And, I can see it, the amount of people moving, and it is a great city. You're 3 hours from the beach. I love to say that I can go and ski and leave the snow there and come back to 55, 60 degrees in Charlotte. Fun fact about North Carolina, our friends in New Hampshire may want to debate this, but the highest ski resort on the East Coast is actually in North Carolina.
That is a fun fact.
The tallest mountain in the Appalachian Range is also in North Carolina. So,
I saw a North Carolina peak. I was in East Tennessee last week and I zip lined. And from the highest point, you're a little over 600 feet over the ground. And the cable's half a mile long. And at that point, you could see the Cumberland Gap, which is in Tennessee. You could see an Appalachian Peak in Kentucky and another in North Carolina. So that was very cool. Yeah. So I waved.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you saw it or not, but
I felt it. I think I felt it eventually. The butterfly effect.
There was good vibes. Good vibes. Okay, let's shift topics a little bit. You recently posted on LinkedIn about a recent achievement that you had with the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. Is that right? Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It is a passion of mine. I got certified in adult mental health first aid. I feel this is something just like CPR certifications, people should go out and do because, especially in the legal industry, there are a huge need for the ability to, deal with burnout, to deal with all types of imposter syndromes, anxiety, and the like. And, that's not to say, broadly more as a nation, but I mean, just being in the legal industry for almost 20 years, I just seeing it and seeing people just ground down and not having the skills to deal with it. And, everybody got to live that during the pandemic. And so it's become kind of a side passion of mine to really get into learn as much about the mind, to learn as much about emotions and stuff that I can, and try and be there for whoever wants to talk.
What is a mental first aid? Was that the name of the, what does that entail in practice? I mean, because when I hear something like that, I think about like volunteering at like a suicide hotline, right? Or being able to help in crisis situations, right? There's some kind of a traumatic event and you can be deployed on site to go help people deal with that. What does the training look like? And then how do you put it into practice?
So the training is pretty much, it's 2.5 hours of coursework that you have to do, and then typically an all-day class that you have to attend. And I really love the comparison to the CPR, is that you are there to help somebody get through a crisis and recommend things to help them, or recommend places to go to help them. You are not there to diagnose why they had a heart attack, like a CPR, like why they aren't breathing. You are there to help them get through their panic attack, or help them deal with the anxiety or whatever is facing them, and then help them go get help from a professional and whatnot.
That's very cool. Very cool. Mm-hmm. All right. Final kind of pivot here. I know that you are super involved in the space. This episode will air late June, early July. So there's a lot coming up in terms of conferences and initiatives in the industry and things going on. What is at the top of your mind that you think needs some airtime?
Yeah, no, two things. I am talking with the Masters Conference now. We're preparing in Charlotte. We go live in late October. I am very excited about the second year. This is the second year that the Masters Conference has been in Charlotte. I find it to be super, super amazing about, how you can really give power to people who don't want to speak up in large settings. And, I love the Masters Conference for that fact. And so we're starting to plan topics. We're starting to plan that. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about IltaCon. It's near and dear to my heart as well. I love working with everybody that puts on that conference. You may have seen me post about a fantasy football league for legal professionals. I'm all about things to bring people together and make conversation and communication easier. So I will be in Nashville in August, sweating with everybody else. I mean, maybe we all sweat a little bit more last year in Florida. But I will be talking on burnout. I will be on the panel talking about, skills and tactics to address burnout, how to recognize it in yourself, and how to, combat it. Because I think, we all want to be at our best. We all can't be at our best 100% of the time. But being able to realize when our cup's overflowing or where our cup is empty, my cup is almost empty. And combat that is huge. So, come see me. Right now we're slated for Wednesday to talk about burnout and whatnot. But again, the legal technology space is just exploding right now. And I love how transactional lawyers are kind of getting their day in the sun. And so I think that's also kind of adding to some of the anxiety because we have to keep up with all of these developments super quick. How are you dealing with that?
With the explosion of legal tech and all that it entails.
Yeah.
A lot of
it's a huge small question.
Yeah, super small question. So the honest answer is a lot of conversations and selective testing and POCs and fairly surgical adoption, right? Because there's a lot of shiny objects out there and everything looks good with Jeb Bush and Enron data. And then what we have found is that far too often you go to deploy a matter deploy a tool on a live matter, and it's like, well, it's not a good fit for that data, or it's not a good fit for that workflow, or it's not a good fit. And so, our approach, frankly, is a lot more. We try to not get too caught up on the smoke and mirrors, and there's a lot of people who will tell you what you want to hear out there, and we take the approach of like, listen, here's what you're going to hear from other people, and here's how this is actually going to work. And that approach really resonates with some people, and they love the honesty and the candor. And then other people are very turned off because it's like, where's your yay rah, go get them, and it's like, hey, we'll hopefully we all get there eventually.
We will. And I think one of the I love, and I have these rose-colored glasses, and I always do, and I'm always going to point out the optimistic side. And I mean, it is such a great time to be a lawyer. It is such a great time to be in this industry. There is so many smart people really trying to fix hard problems.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. I think I would say, ironically, since most of our work is in litigation and investigations, obviously in the discovery phase, litigation by its nature is so nebulous. And I know that that's true for every application of law, but I think that corporate attorneys have a much greater ability to latch on to certain types of tools that are inherently built to kind of facilitate these workflows, because the nature of everything from financial planning to workflows, it's like, listen, I don't know when my client is going to be sued or how big the suit's going to be or how many people it'll involve or anything like that. And so there's just so much uncertainty. And I'm not an attorney, I'm an MBA. Financial modeling is my game and I love it. But, show me somebody who can reliably estimate a litigation budget 3 years into the future, right? And I've got an oceanfront property in Arizona that I'd like to sell you. So I think that, your role specifically is so cool, and that you're not just, a litigation support director, but you are supporting folks all across different practice groups. And I think that you've got a really unique ability amongst folks in the legal tech space to kind of take the best practices from the corporate and the litigation space and cross-pollinate. And a lot of folks are just in one silo or the other.
It's nice because being able to see things that are done in one place and being able to apply them differently, because again, the algorithms are written differently. I mean, there's a lot more complicated. It's a lot more complicated than this, but your corporate algorithms are written to pull this out of the whole document, where the litigation algorithms are written to take this and compare it to that. And being able to cross both is, phenomenal. And I think the struggle is always being able to, it's not just being able to speak tech to law. Now it's being able to say, okay, litigator, take from your mind that this is a transactional tool, but look at what it can do.
Right.
And that's now, and conversely, transactional lawyer, look at relativity and see what it can do or reveal and whatnot. It's getting past that. And, my biggest thing that I'm banging the table about is the sooner we can get to, this is legal technology. Yes, we use it more for litigation and more for transactional. Sure. The more we start going in that fashion, the more it's going to be easier for lawyers to adopt it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, Adam, we didn't get to talk to a lot of topics, most particularly golf.
Yes.
Yes, which we can come back to, and podcasts, which we share a love of and are just as varied on our tastes there as we are in music. But this was awesome. I'm so glad that we were able to find time, and that you were such a champ joining from a hotel room as opposed to the comforts of your own home or office. So this was fantastic, and excellent drink selection. So cheers. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Cheers to you. Thank you for having me.